Optical Art.
Okay guys, I'm going to give you key support and resistance levels to pay attention to. I'm also going to show you why I think Bitcoin is going to bottom around 22,000 late June and potentially 16,500 late July, early August. I'm going to show you why this is the case. Remember, you can access all these live charts on my website, pinned in the first comment description. If you use my Bitget affiliate link, that's also pinned in the first comment description as well. If you do want to pay with USDT, email me through the website. So in the last video, guys, I told you, so when you make contact with this white line to short, that was this video here. I'll put a link up to it now. 18,000 views and only got 1,000 likes, guys. Come on, my feelings are hurt. You got to smash up those likes for me. I gave you a perfect point to short. 43,000. Everybody was talking about 50K, guys. It was a trap. We knew when we hit this point, this is where you put in your short. The video before that, this was April 18th. I told you exactly where to buy in. I'll put a link of this video now if you want to check it out. So if we go to the actual published chart, this is published on March 26. Again, short. I said every time you hit this white line to put in a short, and I told you we come down this blue ring, this is where you long. Look how this played out. Every time we hit it, short, 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 drop, long. And this will be longed on the line on the H1 chart, and we pushed up. And like I said, when you hit this line, that is where you short. You're going to see every YouTuber talking about this resistance level here that we already knew about way in advance before price ever got to it. And I told you once we break this blue ring, I think the capitulation has already begun. So as far as I'm concerned, we have a lot of downside, and I will give you those key support resistance levels to pay attention to. I started my copy trading, but apparently I have certain criteria I have to meet. So when I went live, people couldn't find me. But I do have that account. I have to have so many trades under my belt. I have to copy someone else on a copy trade. But I did post in Discord and Twitter. I said, look, guys, and like I said, that white line on the M1 chart, which I also have on the C1 chart, I gave you my entry where I entered my my short at 42,774. I said have your stop set just above this line right here around 43,065. Because I said if we push up, this will be the top, because we pushed above this line before, but I knew that when we hit this white line, this point would get rejected. This also ties into the stock market and the DXY. We're going to cover that as well. But I said, guys, enter your short. This is where I entered at 42,774. I said set your stop just above this line here. And I made other tweets about it, talking about we're pushing up to it, get ready, this is where you would short, or this is where you could enter your short. I already entered right here just to play it safe in case it turned around right here. But I told you where to put your stop, and it played out beautifully. You can see on the, again, this is the H1 chart where I told you to buy at 38,900, and you can see it hit literally to the damn dollar at 43,000, and we came down. So again, using the line on the M1 chart, we knew we'd get rejected, and using the H1 chart for a precision target to know when to short. And this is the published version of this chart. This published on April 17th to show you how this played out. This is where I told you to buy too long at 38,915, and while I had this line marked off, I knew this was a lot of support and resistance. And again, depending on when you make contact is the price, but I had this marked off up here. But notice what happens when I hit play. We came down, we found perfect support on this line, which is now our key support we need to pay attention to. And you can see I had it marked off here. It would have been 42,754 at this point, but where we made contact was around 43K. That's why I said 43K is where you would short in that previous video. And this is the next point you'd potentially long down here, which we're going to cover. So I'm going to show you why I believe that we are going to potentially bottom around 22K late June, and why 16,500 is possible late July, early August. So I've covered this before, guys. Just want to make sure new viewers watching understand why I believe this is the case. I'm going to zoom out of this chart. This is the M1 chart, by the way. And the reason I believe that that's how it's going to play out, if you go back, and first thing I want you to understand is that every single one of these white lines are parallel. They match completely. You can see they're almost exactly the same. And this is a fib channel chart. By the way, I have tutorials teaching you this method of charting if you're interested. You can access it on my website as well. But this was 2013. Just want you to notice this trend line was resistance, 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 flipped as support, flipped as support. We bottomed on that same trend line. All right, so we know that happened in 2013. Well, using a trend line parallel to the previous one, right? This was 2000. This is where we peaked around almost 20,000 in 2017. Resistance, 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 flips as support. We bottomed on that same trend line at the 200 weekly moving average, this yellow moving average. Well, the same thing happened when we peaked around 14K. This was in 2019. That same trend line, same parallel trend line, resistance, 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 flipped as support, we bottomed on that same trend line at the 300 weekly moving average, this orange moving average here. So with this information, I can tell you with a fair degree of certainty, because we got rejected, and again guys, if you've been following me, I told you every time you hit one of these lines, you short. This is where we called the top back in April of 2021. We hit this line to short. This is where I called the top back in October 2021. And you can see that is currently, that was our resistance. You can see that's how I knew that we would get rejected at this point, because this is a fib channel line. It's all connected. So if you get rejected at this fib channel line and this fib channel line and this one, it makes sense. As soon as you hit this one, this is where you put in your short. That's how I knew where to short before price ever got to it. And if that is the case, which we can clearly see that we get rejected at this point right here, right? Well, we're already breaking below this ring. So as far as I'm concerned, the capitulation has already begun. I believe it will be steps down. I don't think it's going to be one straight drop. But just to show you why I believe early June will potentially bottom around 21,700-ish, and potentially late July, early August around 16,500. And the same reason, just like I showed you, previous resistance, right? Flips as support, we got rejected. Every time you hit this line, you short, we got rejected repeatedly. We're already breaking this point. So I believe we're going to come down, we'll find support, we'll probably push back up, but I believe, again, like I showed you, previous resistance will flip as support. So if this was our resistance, this will be our support. And look at all the confluence we have here. We have this fib channel line, and again, price respects all of these lines in this fib channel. So you have support right here, you have previous resistance flipped as support, and you have the 200 weekly moving average. That's a lot of confluence to give us 21,700-ish around, this right here is around the 5th of June, 2022. And again, if that breaks, you know, if I believe we've already broken this ring, so I think we're coming down. So again, if we come down and this holds support, which I'm sure it will, and we push up, we get rejected and this breaks, that same resistance line will flip as support. And look at all the confluence we have here. You have the 300 weekly moving average right here. You have this blue ring, which is, again, typically what happens, you go from ring to ring. So we break this blue ring, you have the blue ring here, and you have previous resistance, which will flip as support. So that is a lot of confluence. So that's why I believe these will be our targets on those dates. So I hope you're taking my analysis serious, because you've seen that I can predict points too short before price ever gets there. I do believe that's where we're headed. This has a lot to do with the Dow Jones as well. That last call I made, guys, just to show you, I mean, everybody in Discord and Twitter is they're extremely happy. 427%, this is 70 times leverage, 144%, 264, 276, 210, 163, 129, 21, 50, 70, 703%. At 125 times leverage, guys, this is life-changing money here. 77%, 15, 532, 342, 245, 228, just keeps going, 246, 257, 206. That call played out perfectly. And again, guys, the reason I use BitGet is because they are legal to use in the US, Canada, and Australia. You do not need a VPN to mask your IP address. You can use up to 125 times leverage to trade Bitcoin and just about every altcoin you can think of. And again, if you're using something like Bybit, you need to be very aware that you already know you're using their exchange illegally because you're using a VPN to mask your IP address. So if you're using Bybit, just be aware. Read the terms of service for yourself. It says they do not offer services and products to users in a few excluded jurisdictions, including the United States, China, Singapore, and Canada. And it clearly says, right in their terms of service, you understand and acknowledge that if it is determined you have given false representation of your location or place of residence using a VPN, you're doing exactly that. The company, Bybit, reserves the right to take any appropriate actions with compliance to local jurisdictions, including termination of any account immediately and liquidating all open positions. So again, the reason I chose BitGet is because they're legal in the US. You do not need a VPN to mask your IP address, so use something that's legal to use, guys. So let's go on, guys. So I'm going to give you a price targets to pay attention to, but most important, I need you to understand You know, I'd made a tweet. This is back on April 19th. I said, if anyone plays the Dow Jones, I would open some puts or short the Dow Jones because I expected us to get topped out around this ring. At any point we break this point, this yellow line is very key. Once this breaks, I expect us to have a lot of downside with the indices. Remember, Bitcoin follows the indices. I think if you watch previous videos, I was talking about we might get a little pump to the upside. That would push Bitcoin up to the M1, the line on the M1 chart where you would short. That played out. We topped out with the Dow and came down. But when we break this line, I expect us to have a lot of downside. You know, if the Dow's coming down, that means the S&P and the Nasdaq's coming down as well. I believe ultimately we're headed down to around 32,681 as our first target for the Dow Jones. And you can see currently, markets are open now. You can see we just came down right to the support level at 34,416. We could get a bounce and push up a bit. If that's the case, Bitcoin could push up as well. But at any point we break this, again, this is a fib channel line. Just like back here, when we broke this line here, we had a major drop. We dropped down to this ring. So I believe this is a double top. Once we break this point, guys, I believe the Dow's coming down to this point. That's why I believe we have a lot of downside for Bitcoin as well. But you can see we pushed above this briefly. It was a fake out, and then we came right back down. And this is available under my stock section. And you can see currently the Dow is down 331 points. So again, that's bearish for Bitcoin. Also follow the DXY, guys. Again, if the dollar's pushing up, that's bearish for Bitcoin, bearish for the markets. If the dollar's dropping, that's bullish for Bitcoin, bullish for the markets. If you see the DXY push above 101 and hold support and push up, you can expect a lot more downside for the markets and for Bitcoin. So let me give you some price targets to pay attention to, guys. So this is the M1 chart. I'm going to zoom in on this. Your key resistance levels now to watch, all right? So we know. And yes, it's possible we could push up. I just want to make you aware of where your key resistance levels are. We know that every time we hit this white line, we get it rejected. And that's where I originally told you to short back on the 28th of March. I said when you hit this point, short 48,300. And just in the last video, I said when we push up 43K, that is where you short. We came down. So we know your first major resistance is this blue ring right here at 40,564. If we push above that, write these down. Your next resistance to watch is 41,300 or 41,250. But anytime you make contact with this white line, this is where you short. So if we kind of push up and sideways, if you hit 42,042, short it, just like every previous time. But again, those are your key resistance levels on the M1 chart. And again, I believe that we are headed down. There are support levels below. Every single one of these fib channel lines will be respected. If we come down, you'll find support here. We might push up, short this white line. But ultimately, I believe we're headed down to these targets on those dates I gave you. So let me give you key support resistance levels on some of these other charts. Let me see here. I have quite a few open. So this chart here. So we know for a fact that this line has been a lot of support. This is the H1 chart. This is where I told you to buy right here. This was back on, this was the 24th of February. I said this is where you would buy right here, 34,662. That's how I knew that if we came down below that blue ring, the next point you would buy would be 38,900. We push up from that point. We got rejected right here. So if we come down, the next point you would chance along would be right here around 39,250. At any point this breaks, expect us to have, that's when it's game over, guys. Once we break 39,242 and this becomes resistance, we're coming way the hell down. I will keep you guys updated in Twitter and in Discord, but this is your next key support. The most important support level right now is 39,250. You can see right now your current resistance to watch on the H1 chart. You can see this has been a lot of support and resistance. Right now is your current resistance. So if you push up, the next point to enter a short would be right here around 40,660. So those are your two major resistance and support levels to pay attention to, and that is on the H1 chart. And again, if we push up, the highest point we can go is the line on the M1 chart. So let me cover a couple other charts here. So this is the C1 chart. You can see we got rejected right at this ring right here. So if we drop your next support, you can see we found support right here at 39,919. Your support level just below is 39,785. Your resistance is right here at 40,944. And again, this is that white line on the C1 chart. So if we push straight up, you know, the next point too short, 42,500. That is the same line on the M1 chart. If we drop below 39,785, your next support level to catch a bounce is 38,951. And remember, the major support level that you want to watch Next support level below is right here, 38,173. But this is your major support, 39,247. You could probably catch a nice bounce here, but if this breaks, guys, we're going way the hell down. Let me see. Let's see, that was the H1 and the C1 chart. This is the C1 BG chart. Just want to show you some support and resistance levels. Notice we pushed up and we got rejected right here. You can see the meat of the candle is below 42,696, but we topped out right up here at 43,000. Your current support right now, you can see this trend line is being respected as support and resistance. So your current support right now is right here at 40,119. And again, guys, like I say, have the H1 chart, C1 chart, C1 BG chart open. Whichever support or resistance levels are closest, that's the ones you pay attention to. The next support level below is 39,685. So guys, that gives you key support and resistance levels. Remember, you can access all these live charts on my website. The link will be pinned first comment in the description. Use my Big 8 affiliate link. It's also pinned in first comment description as well. Guys, that's it. Trade safe, trade smart. I'm out.